Hey guys, NicMakesPlays here. Today I have a deck that I'm really excited to show you guys. I think it's extremely well positioned in the meta. I've been doing amazing with it. The last 2 years I played it, and the day I built it, I went 8-2 the first day, and that was while I was learning the deck. And then the next day, I think I went like 7-2 again or something similar. So really strong results. These were on a master ladder on EU. So it does really well against the meta and even at the high ranks. It's a Teemo Ezreal deck with mushrooms. So right now in the meta, there's a lot of Twisted Fate going around, a lot of decks that draw a bunch of cards, and I don't really know where this deck started from. It kind of been, going on the grapevine, and I made my own take on it, and it's been really performing. It's also probably one of the most fun decks in the whole game right now. So whether you're just trying to look for a deck for fun or you have to win, this hits both, and you can have a blast winning as well as having a great old time with it. All right, let's dive in. So I guess the premise is actually pretty straightforward of the deck. You want to be getting your opponent to have tons of Puffcaps in their deck, and then you want them to draw them all with Hexcore Foundry. Round start, all players draw 1. So I draw 1, my opponent draws 1. Usually in card games, cards that make your opponent draw 1 a lot of times aren't worth it that much, but with this deck you have Puffcaps. I guess we'll go into what Puffcaps are real quick. So most cards that are the Mushroom Clouds, they say plant 5 Poison Puffcaps on random cards in your deck. Deal 1 to your Nexus when drawn. So basically, Puffcaps are like things you can put into your opponent's deck. They get attached to cards, and when they draw them, they take damage for each one they drew. So let's say I put 5 Puffcaps in my opponent's deck. He draws a card that has 1 on it. They take 1 damage. Next turn he draws another one. It has 2 on it. They take 2 damage. So basically, you just want to put a ton of Puffcaps in their deck and then make them draw their cards. And it's actually really funny because you can have it to where they have a full hand of cards they can't use and they're overdrawing. So every card they draw, they take damage to the Puffcaps, and then the card burns because you can only have 10 cards in hand for the hand limit. So in essence, just really short, not like a burn deck. It's more like its own thing. But I'll go into why we page cards and how it all works. So let's just get started. 3 Thermogenic Beam. Genetically good removal spell. You can use it on a multitude of cards. Twisted Fate, Aphelios, whatever. I mean, it's pretty generically good. But also helps level up Ezreal. We have Ezreal's deck, who is you target enemies 6+ times. He levels up. So he levels up in the deck. So even if you don't have him in hand, play Thermal Beam on turn 1 on Zoe or whatever on opposing Teemos. You're leveling up Ezreal. 3 Brutal Steel. This is a card that's also nice to level up Ezreal. It's a card that is just generically good for 1 mana removal because if they have an attacker, let's say you have an Ice Archer that's able to block, they have a 3-attack attacker, you can Brutal Steel it and block with Ice Archer and kill it, so you can removal spell like that. It can save you health. It's just a pretty generically good card for 1 mana. 3 Teemo. This card is huge. This is what you always want to have turn 1 in this deck. Usually in this deck, I've been mulliganing, I'm still in the deck, but I've been mulliganing for Teemo on turn 1 and Blissey Bot on turn 2 is pretty ideal. So when he strikes the Nexus, he's elusive. Can only be blocked by elusive unit. If he strikes the Nexus, he plants 5 Puffcaps randomly on random cards enemy deck. So you can put 1 on 5 different cards. You can put all 5 on 1 card, 3 on 1 card, 2 on another card. It's all random. But when you planted 15 Puffcaps, he levels up. Then he becomes a 2/2, which is good. This is important because he usually gets direct damage, so it's actually just 1 extra, I guess, burn damage if he attacks directly. Nexus Strike, double the poison Puffcaps enemy deck. That's pretty insane. So if you have like 40 Puffcaps enemy deck, you attack, it becomes 80, and then they're drawing like 2 or 3 cards a turn, and they just die. They take tons of damage. So he's insanely strong. He's one of the main parts of the deck. 3 Ballistic Bot, round start, create initiative in hand. This card's really good because it deals 1 damage each turn, which is, of course, it's like kind of like a burn type thing over time. Type of deck with the Puffcaps. So this adds up to make it easier to kill them with the range of the Puffcaps. You can discard these for Get Excited for free removal or on the enemy Nexus. It triggers Puffcap Peddler. We'll get a Puffcap Peddler in a second. This is one of the main uses of Ignition, is to make sure you trigger Puffcap Peddler to get the Mushrooms enemy deck. 3 Ice Archer, play Frostbite enemy, levels up Ezreal. So this makes them have 0 attack for the round. Levels up Ezreal, really good defensively. You almost always want to save this for like big threats, like if they play Darius or Alpha Wildclaw on Overwhelm, you'd want to use it on that. If they play a big Elusive, you want to use it on that. You kind of just want to save this until they put a bunch of huge stats or a huge bomb on 1 unit and then use freeze for the turn. So pretty good, but you could also use it in the early game against aggro, because aggro usually attacks a bunch of like small units in the beginning, you don't want to take too much damage in the beginning. So yeah, if it's like their turn 2, and you miss your turn 1, and they play a unit, and you play as Archer, it kind of screws up their attack. So very good defensive card. 2 Iterative Improvement. 2 Iterative Improvement. This card I didn't originally have. There's a few other cards in this deck we could be running, like Troll Chan or Iron of Elixir. I think originally I had... What did I have originally? There's Flash Freeze. We'll go into what I had originally later. I don't really remember what it was right now. Point is, this card's really strong. Pick a follower, create a copy of it in hand with +1/+1. Usually you copy Ballistic Bot and the Puffcap Peddler. Puffcap Peddler is huge. Like, Puffcap Peddler is like the best card in the deck, or like one of the best cards in the deck, along with Hexcore Foundry. So we'll get into those in a second. But you usually want to copy the Puffcap Peddler or the Ballistic Bot. You can also be versatile though and copy opponent's cards. A lot of times they'll play a unit, and you can just copy it and then play the same unit, and then you have a bam, a +1/+1, a bigger version of their unit, and kind of ruins their attack. So pretty good. Like if they play a House Spider and they're playing aggro, then you can copy their House Spider and play it. You get a 3/3 House Spider, also summons a 1/1 Spiderling, which is good for defense. So yeah, pretty versatile, but mostly used on Puffcat Peddler and Ballistic Bot. 3 Mystic Shot. This is generically good. You can ping enemy units, level up Ezreal, or you can go for game with the face damage. So it's if you burn or removal, very good. Veteran Investigator. When I'm summoned, all players draw 1. This card's used mostly when your opponent's all Puffcaps in their deck to make them draw, but you also draw later in the game. So this deck gets a game state later in the game where it doesn't matter how many cards your opponent has because you're both drawing tons of cards. It all matters is that who can kill who first, but they're drawing like 5 Puffcaps a turn, and you're just like using this to draw into like Harsh Winds, and the freezes and removal, and you kind of just like all you have to do is shut down their attack, and then they end their turn, they draw more Puffcaps and die. So at the beginning of the game, it can be a bit weak, but later in the game, they have a lot of Puffcaps. It's irrelevant if they have more cards than you because it's all about the Puffcaps and just making sure they can't kill you, and then they die next turn. You can use it in the early game if you need the blockers, and it can draw you into like Hexcore Foundry and more stuff, so it's good. But yeah, that's Veteran Investigator, just to make them draw more Puffcaps a lot of time and refill yourself as well and dig. 3 Ezreal. This card is insane in this deck. Holy. Alright. Here's a level 1 for him to start. Extra Strike, create a fleeting Mystic Shot in hand. So when he attacks, you get a Mystic Shot. You can use that to remove units. Usually you can use it to hold down the early game. You don't want to it's not like a burn deck where like you go face like at the beginning. You kind of kill them later in the game with Puffcaps or go for a game in 1 turn when you're close, but you can use it in the beginning just to attack directly, use the fleeting Mystic Shot on an enemy unit, and kind of just like make their board smaller so it's harder for them to deal damage in the mid and early game, which is very nice because you just kind of control the board and they can't ever come back and they start taking a bunch of Puffcap damage. But the big thing is really level 2 for him. His level 2 form is insane. Same as level 1 for him, Nexus Strike, gets +1/+1 elusive, create a fleeting Mystic Shot hand, but here's what his level up form does. This is huge. When you cast a spell, deal 1 to enemy Nexus. If it is a target enemy, then it deals 2 instead. So basically what it means is whenever you use a spell, it deals 1 to the enemy Nexus, such as the Puffcaps. Like Chump of Wump gives you the Mushroom Cloud, plant 5 poison Puffcaps on enemy cards in the enemy deck. And these deal 1 damage now. Like the activation of Mushroom Cloud, if you have Ezreal, deals 1 damage, and it puts mushrooms in their deck, which is huge damage. So he gives you 2 of these. Create 2 Mushroom Clouds in your hand. So you play 1, it's 1 damage, that's 2 damage already. Then you also put 10 mushrooms in their deck, it's huge damage. Mystic Shot, if you go Mystic Shot to face to finish them, it does 1 extra damage. So instead of doing 2 damage to the Nexus, it does 3. Get excited, instead of doing 3 damage to the Nexus, it does 4. You can target enemies too, but usually to level up Ezreal, a lot of time you want to start going for game. Something interesting is that if you use Brittle Steel defensively or like Harsh Winds defensively, while Ezreal, those deal 2 damage to Nexus because they're targeting enemies. So he's pretty insane. So if you target enemy, it does 2. If you don't target enemy, this spell does 1. But usually when you play him, you want to just go to the Nexus if you can. So he bursts for like 10 plus damage, easy. Like this card, if they're at 20, easy, you can kill them. It's a something fun, easy Ezreal, but it actually is very easy to kill people even at near full health with this card. All right, 3 get excited. A lot of people don't play this. I love it. I mean, the extra reach to burst for a game is so huge. with Ignition, you can discard Ignition and just have a generically good deal 3 anything removal spell as well. So it's kind of like Mystic Shot, but you have to discard a card. But yeah, just you can go for burn, get down in the game. You can use it as removal in the early game. Pretty good. 3 Hexcore Foundry, this card is huge. Round start, all players draw 1. Used to refuel. A lot of times when you play this, the draw gets so carried away for both players that their hand is full. So it doesn't actually matter that much that you're giving them the extra cards in this deck, because it gets to a game state where they have a billion cards but not enough mana to use them all, and you have a billion cards and you can stop everything they do with your Harsh Winds and your removal. So yeah, they may be up 2 or 3 cards, but they can't kill you, and you can kill them with Puffcaps, so it's great. But yeah, besides refueling, the other most notable role obviously is to draw the Puffcaps. You put a bunch of Puffcaps in their deck, you start drawing a bunch, and they take like 2 or 3 damage turn off Puffcaps and you win. 3 Puffcap Peddler, probably the best card of the deck, along with the Hexcore Foundry. When you cast a spell, plant 3 Poison Puffcaps on random cards in the enemy deck. This card gets carried the fuck away. This card is huge, huge, huge. This card is so many Puffcaps in the deck, dude. Like, let's look at all the spells you got here. We got Thermo, Brittle Steel, Iterative Improvement. Iterative Improvement's great with it because if you have him on the field, he puts 3 in the deck from the Iterative Improvement. But then you play another one, which puts 6 Puffcaps in the deck per spell, which really, really, really snowballs. And also with Ballistic Bot, you get Ignition every turn that deals 1 enemy Nexus, and puts 3 Puffcaps in the deck for the Puffcap Peddler. So all kinds of spells here. So yeah, this is one of the most important cards of the deck, is making sure you get 1 or multiples of these cards, and then use all your spells. Another good combo is you play this on 3, and then turn 4 you play Chump of Wump. You play the Mushroom Clouds. You actually, I guess we'll dive into the next card, right? Let's have the next card now. So Chump of Wumps, when I'm summoning, create 2 Mushroom Clouds in hand. What I was going to say is you mostly want to save these for when you have the Puffcat Peddler or the level up of Ezreal. There are times where you have to use it before then, just because like you have a Hexcore Foundry and you need them to start drawing the Mushroom Clouds. You're not going to burn them enough. You're not going to win. Because the earlier you put them on their deck, the more chance that they have to draw them. Because games aren't going to last forever, right? Let's say your approximated game will end in the next 4 turns. Then if you wait 2 of those turns to put the mushrooms in the deck, then they're only drawing 2 times. But if you do it right away, they're drawing 4 times. So I usually try and go them early. But like if you don't have a Puffcat Peddler or Love of Ezreal, then you just play them a lot of the time. But if you have Puffcat Peddler in hand or Love of Ezreal, you want to wait for the extra damage a lot of the time. But yeah, this was Puffcat Peddler, put 5 in their deck. And then 3 for the Puffcat Peddler. It makes them 8. Put 8 in their deck each, so it's 16 off this. The 2 of these in the Puffcat Peddler. Last card, Harsh Winds. Frostbite 2 enemies. Very good defensive spell. It's how you stay alive a lot of the time. This is one of the cards that makes it so they can't win. Like what I keep referencing, like, oh, they have more cards than you, and they're drawing these cards, but they can't beat you, and then you kill them with Puffcaps. This is like the they can't beat you card. Like they try and go for a huge push, and you just Harsh Winds it, and you live. And then next turn goes. They draw the mushrooms, and then GG. They die by mushrooms. It's satisfying. You can get a lot of mushrooms in this deck. I only run 2, because you also see it more often from on the drawing, because it's expensive, but you could run 3. I guess that leads me, before we go into the games, let's say what card you could be running in this deck. Let's see here. This card's really good to protect things. I went with more removal route, because I felt if they remove things, whatever. Even if they try and kill Puffcat Peddler, Iterative Improvement can be another one, but it's a trade-off. But one important thing with deck building, you have to understand, this sounds so generic, I think I've said this in a few videos, but it's one of the most important things in deck building, is whenever you add a card, you have to cut a card. So it's opportunity cost, the trade-off. There's an expense to it. So yes, I think this card's good in this deck, and I would add it, but what do I cut? It's weakening the deck in a different way. By cutting an important card, a lot of times people go, oh, why don't you play this? Why don't you play this? Well, it's like, you can only play 40 cards in deck, but this card's pretty good. Feel free to add it in if you like it. Rummage, I don't think you need this deck, because you don't want to discard, like, Rummage usually is used in decks to discard the Mushroom Clouds, to generate, discarding 2 Mushroom Clouds to draw 2 real cards, like removal spells, say in an Ezreal deck, like Draven Ezreal. But in this deck, you actually use the Mushroom Clouds, so you don't even want to discard them. So I don't like this card, because otherwise you'd be discarding, like, real cards, which is inherently a -1, because you're using the Rummage itself and discarding 2 cards, so you're using 3 cards to only draw 2. So it's not as good in this deck as it sounds. Some people run Sentry. I don't really think you need Sentry in this deck. I don't even know what I cut for it. I think there's more important cards in the deck. Clump of Wumps. This card slept on. So when I first built this deck, I forgot Veteran Investigator existed, because I always build my own decks and I kind of make them from scratch. I actually forgot this card existed. So I originally had Clump of Womps, and that's what I went 8-2 with this deck on, Master Ladder EU. And this card was absolutely amazing. And then even now, like, I know the standard builds run Veteran Investigator, but I really like this card a lot. I kept Veteran Investigator with this version of the deck, this video, because it's more standard, but I seriously think this card could be okay, could be good. Summon, create a Mushroom Cloud in hand. It's pretty simple. You get a Mushroom, the Puffcaps. But a lot of times you don't have enough Puffcaps because you need to draw a Peddler or a Chump Wump, and I feel just having the more is good. You just want to use this with Puffcap Peddler to get the extra mushrooms, which can make a huge difference. So I like this card. You can run the rate of improvement. You can run Troll Chant, which is kind of the Elixir of Iron, but it can target an enemy for Ezreal level up, and it also helps for bigger combat trades. I feel like in this deck, I don't go for big blocks a lot of time. You kind of only block what you need to, and mostly use your spells, like Mystic Shot and Thermo, to remove things. So I think Elixir of Iron is probably a bit more simple and maybe effective, but you can run Troll Chant too. This could be better also. There's arguments for both. Very good. This or Elixir of Iron are both options. Flash Freeze, this is a big one. A lot of people like Flash Freeze. I couldn't really find space for it because I like all the cards in the deck. Again, opportunity cost, you have to cut things to add things. This card's good, Frostbite Enemy. A bit expensive, but better in the later game for options to freeze anything, especially bigger things. Kind Tavern Keeper, heal an ally or Nexus 3. This could heal versus aggro, just in general. I don't play it, but it's good. It's an option. And what else? Static Shock could be good against like all the Portal Cannon decks out. It's against Zoe. A lot of 1 health units in the meta right now. So you get to level up Ezreal extremely fast by dealing 2 damage to enemies, or you can do a 1 to enemy and 1 to Nexus to deal 1, and it draws your card up to cycle. This card's pretty good if you can find space for it. And then a third Harsh Winds is good. And I guess the last card might be like Progress Day. I think some people are playing Progress Day now to like just draw if you don't draw Hexcore Foundry, and you're like, because if you don't draw Hexcore Foundry, sometimes you're low on fuel, but I didn't find the need for it yet. I'm doing amazing without it. So those are the options, but let's get into the games. We're up against Deep. Interesting. I'm impressed the guy got Masters of Deep. It's pretty hard in the current economy, but I give him respect. This matchup's really interesting in a few ways. At the beginning, you put a lot of Puffcaps in their deck, they can just toss them out of their deck, and then you don't get any damage, and it sucks. But later in the game, it's broken for our deck, because his deck gets so condensed off all the milling. He only has like 10 cards in deck. We put all kinds of Puffcaps in it, and each time he draws like a billion Puffcaps. So overall, I'd say this is good for us. I think that this deck does really well for speed. He can play his cards right to toss some of the early game pressure away with the mushrooms, but when it gets to the late game, he should be drawing cards packed with mushrooms each turn, which is really good for us. So we have 1-drop, 2-drop. We really want to draw Puffcap Peddler. Perfect. This is exactly what I wanted. Interesting. Alright, since the E ladder's got some spicy stuff going. Shark Chariot. Shark Chariot D. Okay. Alright, we're going to open attack here while we have the chance. This is a great opportunity to do so. I honestly think I'm just going to play another Ballistic Bot here. Play it first so it gets the augment off this ignition. And the reason I want to do this is I want to play Puffcap Peddler in turns where I have a lot of spells to use. This gives us 2 spells, all we can only use right now. Okay. So you can kind of keep track of the amount of Puffcaps he mills. He still has all of them in his deck. My Shark Chair. This guy's kind of scaring me. I don't exactly know what's going on here. I can't act like I do. It is interesting. I guess we'll just take the damage here and try and race him down. I'm not sure. This is a very unique deck. I'm not really sure to act, but we'll see bots here. Teemo, let's get the Puffcaps in his deck since he's a deep deck. Later in the game, he should have not many cards left, and he should be drawing a ton of Puffcaps for draw. So I'm gonna attack with all these. I want to attack with this. I'll attack with this. I was gonna say keep its health high because it's really important to keep Puffcap Peddler's health high. We could also play this, so we get 3 Puffcaps in his deck, so that this levels up before attacks and doubles his things. But to me, it sounds risky, and I'd rather not give him a blocker. So I just want to like take away. Like, you might play a blocker for these, and then that would make it so that we still get the double up, but we just have a worse attack with our units that aren't elusive. Kind of interesting. I'm gonna attack here before he plays something like Deadly Wonder. We can also Mystic Shot his Nexus right here on the attack to make it so this levels up before it strikes and it doubles his mushrooms. I kind of like that play. Let's see that one. I don't want to GG him, so I don't want him to surrender. I want him to play it out. Don't surrender, please. Please. Alright, the mushrooms in the deck. Teemo levels up. So he has 16 mushrooms to double to 32. Alright. Then we can do the ignitions here. And get 2 more damage to his Nexus and more Puffcaps. Even if he tosses at this point, it's still going to be just me Puffcaps. This actually will give him a Puffcaps to his hand if he picks up Puffcaps on it, yeah. Alright, GG's. Alright, we're playing against Twisted Fate Aphelios. That's an interesting name this guy has. So, usually this deck I want to mulligan turn 1 for Teemo, turn 2 for Felicity Bot, and turn 3 for Puffcap Peddler. We already have 1 out of those cards. We have our 1 drop, so let's mull the rest. It is good to have the Thermo Beam and just getting excited for these champions, but we're going to draw into them again. Like, we have so many, we have 3 of each, so I want to mull for our early game units, and then by the time they have the Aphelios, the Twisted Fate, then we should be good to have answers for it. We have more, let's say we have more mushrooms. We have a lot more draw. We have better Investigator and the Hexport Foundries. So that's good. Sketcher. This could be a problem if he gets the snake, the Zero Man Challenger. If he had the snake, I think he would have picked faster, but I'm still gonna wait a bit. I don't think he got it. Alright. Let's freeze that to save health. And then we can use this to block this.
Stay back.
Alright, so it saves a lot of health. We debatably could have stopped this and then blocked that, but that would have been a lot of damage at the time. Alright, hopefully this walks. We put more mushrooms in the deck. He could have Hush here. Okay. Hush and he loses the unit. Not that. Not that big a deal. I will be honest. I don't think that's the right play. I'll say it. I don't really know. He thought about it twice. Interesting. And yeah, this is Mastery rank. This isn't a random game. Alright, let's see what he does. We have answers for Aphelios and Twisted Fate via the Thermo Beam. That might be an Aphelios. This for Nightfall and then Aphelios. Let's see. Head on Teemo, it's pretty strong. Drawing 2 cards a turn. Only 5 Puffcaps in his deck. Okay. Good. He's probably gonna get Boxtopus, or the Crescendum to summon a 3/4 Boxtopus from the deck. Right now, we'll kill this immediately before he starts phasing. Third Beam Heart with Ezreal. Hit the damage here. One downside though is that Crescendum goes into Calibrum to deal 3 to a follower, and it's really good against our deck like our Puffcap Peddlers and such. I think it's a good time to use Ezreal's Mystic Shot. That's one of my favorite lines. I never use my goggles either. They actually both I've never seen either with their goggles. It's kind of funny. These can both get through with the elusives. His only elusives are like Wiggly Burblefish, and I'm not like that. concerned about that card. He already used the Hush, which is nice. His Fate's red card could kill Teemo, so this was like somewhat risky, but I think it was the correct way to play the Ezreal. The rest of our hand's not really something to do right now. The other side of the coin is that I should probably attack with this to make sure we get the mushrooms in, because that's all we need right now.
Take your time,
but I think this is worth it. Get some greedy.
do.
There's also a spot where I would like the Shemp of Wumps more than Better Investigator. Or, not more, but I just like putting the mushrooms in the deck, so that would be nice. Slayer Creature. That can be annoying because Golden Sisters can heal, as well as be a blocker for the elusives. Through. Puffcaps, get Mystic Shot. We can start willing away his healed to alleviate some of the pressure he's putting on us. As well as leveling up Ezreal. I want to hit that one instead of this one because I can block both. This can block that one favorably, but if he goes wider and I'm gonna block something else, this is more damage. So yeah. So he plays the Voxers from the deck. We drew Ice for Archer luckily, but not too lucky because we do have Hexcore Foundry drawing us to a turn. This is what I'm saying. He's been up in cards the whole game, but it doesn't actually matter because it's not even about like the cards. There's more cards when you play Hexcore Foundry. Versus Puffcaps, it becomes are you in a way you can beat me? Like, can you beat my strategy? Are you in a winnable game state? You can beat me despite all these Puffcaps in the deck. This is brutal though, unfortunately, because well, this is brutal just because. But besides that, we haven't drawn Puffcap Peddler yet. Who's like a main card in our deck. A really, really important card in our deck. I think it's a safe spot to play our second Hexcore Foundry. We're only taking 2 damage here. He hooks this if he wants and attacks with both of these. Chips for 2, not a big deal. I really want to draw into our Puffcat Peddler. So he has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cards. He'll be drawing 3 if he plays nothing else. He'll burn 1 card. So 1 card, his hand was 10. He won't be able to play all of them. Oh, I'll just trade them.
If it's a fight they want.
We only take 1 and remove a unit. That's pretty good. You value the health on that, which I kind of get, but in terms of tempo, that's really what you want is the tempo against us. No mushrooms. There we go. Still no Puffcat Peddler. Puffcat Peddler is, again, like really important. So something cool is that we can draw here, and then he doesn't get to draw because he already has 10 cards in his hand. This is a Guiding Touch, takes 1 off a Puffcap. This is a good draw. Could be useful. Probably Harsh wins the next turn, so I'm not too concerned about this. If he plays a card that like adds a card to his hand, like replenishes itself, then I can play another one of these, and he'll miss the draw again. So this is what happens. It just gets down to a point where, as I've been saying, they just can't beat me. We're not quite there yet, because if we had Puffcat Peddler, we would be there. You wouldn't be able to.
I'm always up for a round or two.
You're drawing a card in this economy.
Blue as the serpentine.
Interesting. Takes the mushroom, 2 mushrooms. Draw again. There's that, but I still draw my card. Also, I don't mind if it's limit specific, so I can just remove it with the Mystic Shot or the Thorn Beam or what have you.
I'm still good to scrap. Flesh was weak.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I have 7 cards. This would be 8, 9 to 11. I'll burn 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. He'll burn more. Okay, the reason I don't want a Mystic Shot right now is because he probably has Sunless Vigor, Bastion, or okay, he's Bastion, but Sunless Vigor or Pale to protect it, and I don't want him to get value out of his cards. So, well, I don't want to burn his Puffcat Peddler or Ezreal. We got Ezreal. That's great. Ooh, and Teemo. Okay, totally fine. Broston would have been good, but doesn't really matter. In the grand scheme of things, we're in an amazing spot right now. Don't have too many Puffcaps in his deck at the very moment, but you could definitely level up Ezreal and try and go for a game like that. That's good for him. Use Ignition, kind of shown right now. Wait and see what he does. Leave our mana open for Harsh Winds and such like that. Harshman's also makes Ezreal leveled up, which is nice. Okay, is it Aphelios? Burblefish. Alright, that's fine. No biggie. Just pass again here. I mean, if he passes back, you're gonna lose a lot of tempo here. He's already down on life. I could iterate improvement on the Burblefish. It would actually help with Ezreal too if you don't want to harsh wins this turn, which I don't think I want to, honestly. Be a good elusive blocker. Or force him to update with this. Wow, that's actually really good.
Where are you off to? Oh, you wee scruff.
I think taking 6 is fine here. Should I just miss a shot? I guess we'll play it safe and just miss a shot one of these. Keep our health high. Nah, we'll take it. He can't burst for damage, and I want to save my removal for this. He's going to level up soon. And I want to kill him through his removal, so it's like, we can Mystic Shot this now, and then if he protects it, we can Thermo Beam it. And even if it does level up, honestly, it's not that big a deal, because him drawing extra cards is good for us. But it'd be better for us if he has more Puffcaps. We're low in the Puffcap department, but we did just level up Ezreal, which is really big. Let's play Ezreal now. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7, and we're gonna draw 3 cards. Can we kill him at burst speed? 7, and we're gonna draw 3 cards. We can do 4 damage here off these Thermo Beams. Very interesting. Our opponent does not understand the dire circumstances he just got himself in. So we do it for 0, but to targets an enemy, it deals 2 to the Nexus. These are 2 burn spells, basically. This deals 1 damage. This deals 4 damage. So we could be able to kill him very... Oh, wow. So we can just burst spell lethal him, I'm pretty sure. Draw any Puffcaps to make it easier. It doesn't matter. You go Star Shaping. Someone's Star Shaping, some don't. Guy in touch. He heals 2, but he might draw a Puffcap. Nope. He only has a few cards left in his deck, so he's bound to draw the Puffcaps. Soon, yeah. 1, so 4 left with 12 in deck. Okay, I think he's accepting defeat, maybe? I don't really know what's going on here. Is he emptying his hand? Oh, that was actually good, the milling, to get rid of Puffcaps in the deck. Can we get rid of 1? We lost 2 Star Shapings. Okay, I think he knows he lost. Yeah. He knows he lost.
And Ezreal is victorious.
Alright guys, that's the games. GG's. I think this deck's extremely, extremely strong. I've been doing amazing with it. I think that if the Puffcap Peddlers and the Hexcore Foundry going at the same time, you get like over 100 Puffcaps in the deck, which is A, ton of fun, but B, just really hard to deal with. And I've just had so much success with this deck lately, I had to share it. So let me know what you guys think. I think this deck's really strong. Feel free to follow me on Twitch, on YouTube. Let me know what videos you guys want. But catch you guys later. Peace.